Hello, Matt, Marno. Hello, the world, wherever you're joining us from. Australia, I don't know. MoltBook. Hello to all of the Molt agents out there watching our show live, I'm sure. That hot transition always gets me. I've done different shows and different things, and the automated transition from bumper to live, I'm never quite sure when it's me, and there's always a weird gap when you watch back the recording where it's my browser takes half a second longer to switch over than the actual thing, and there's always this weird oh, I'm live now. But we are live, live show, no safety net. Welcome to all those joining us. Please say hi in the comments. Let us know where you're joining us from. My name's Dave. I'm joining from Sydney, Australia. Matt, good morning. Where are you joining us from this week, as usual?
This week you'll find me in Gindra, New South Wales, Australia.
Has it cooled down there?
Yes, it has. Yeah, we've had a week of like 45 degrees, and yeah, now it's a nice chilly 35 degrees.
No chill.
Love it.
Yeah, up in Sydney, it's back up to 31 today, but we had a couple of cool days, low mid 20s, which the nights are cool. That's a nice thing. And Marno, you're out in the desert heat, aren't you? Out there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Kalgoorlie. It's been great.
Yep. Have you have the 40s, or you just been stuck in the 30s?
We had a 40-day yesterday, but it felt like 50. Like it was just so humid. And then Tuesdays are my sauna sessions. So after the hot day, decided to spend about 2 and a bit hours in the sauna with a cold plunge in between. It's a good day.
Nice,
Awesome.
nice.
Yeah.
Keeping those fitness habits going. The
Trying
cold
to.
plunge.
Yeah, cold plunge sucks, man. The cold plunge is like it's my mate's freezer basically. That's what it is. And you get in and it's just ice. You have to break the ice or move it out of the way. And I think the climatized, like the recovery center in town, their cold plunge ranges between 4 degrees and 8 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
My mate's freezer is about 0.2 to 0.7. It's cold. It's very cold.
How do you even that's a test right there to get into that.
It's only a minute. It's only a minute of just complete discomfort, but after that you feel great.
I can't even do cold showers.
And cold showers were like 15 degrees or something. Like it's nothing.
Yeah. It's the discomfort. Like the cold showers, they just the dribbles, like the drizzle. It's not as I think the cold shower is more difficult in my opinion than a cold plunge. Because the
Okay.
cold plunge, it's 1 second of you just dipping in, and then if you stay past about 30 seconds, then it gets really easy, and you just keep breathing.
Amazing.
Yeah, good
All
stuff.
right. There you go. We we're not all about the AI. We're also about the cold plunges as well. If you're joining us for the first time, if you're new, this is the new AI operators show. Joanna from Perth, another Westie over there. Well done. Great to have you joining us. If you are new or joining us for the first time, or you've been here for the second time now, because it's our second show, we call ourselves the AI operators. We're working with AI every day for our own businesses, for our customers' businesses. And this is a live chat where we just talk about our lives and how we're using the AI tools and how we're seeing them work in businesses to drive better outcomes. So as you can tell, it's a bit of a shooting the breeze kind of show. It's like a pub chat where you can learn some insights into how some tech heads are using the tech. So I realized after last week's show, we jumped into the vibing and the chatting and the talking, and we didn't actually introduce ourselves and what our businesses are and who we're working with and what sort of things we do. We've got our little business names underneath our real names. But Marno, we'll go reverse order this time, just based on what I'm seeing on the screen. What do you want to give everyone a little intro around what Kalgoorlie AI is?
Yeah, it's just my take in trying to level up the digital literacy in Kalgoorlie or the Goldfields. So all I do is just help businesses turn AI into a team member, whether that is educating them on how to use ChatGPT correctly or implementing a full automation system that helps them do more high leverage tasks instead of just a repetitive admin task.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And so you're focused mainly on that sort of the Kalgoorlie area.
Yeah, I'm focused on the Goldfields for now. There's a lot of opportunities here, and the coolest part about it, the reason I also enjoyed working at the council at one point, is the changes that you do and the improvements that you do to one business. You can see that impact across the organization or across the community. So, like, I help one business with their field service business, I helped him, and now like a year later, there's like 20 of his youths all around town. You get to see the impact, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. So if you're in the Goldfields area and you're looking for AI advice and help, Marno's your man. If you're not from the Goldfields, I'm sure he would still call and have a chat with you if you like
Sure.
the cut of his jib. Reach out to Marno. Matt, what's the Slatex Systems?
So mine's pretty similar. I come from like a weird mix of technical skill set and personal development. So I have this weird way of like being able to see what businesses need, break it down similar to yourself with your blueprints, in the sense where, I just look at all of the inputs and all of the outputs and what processing happens in the middle and what part of that processing is currently bottlenecked by the human. Humans aren't good at a lot of things. So that's what I figure out is, which part of this entire workflow can we do with some sort of just automated process? And if AI is involved, then amazing. But, it's not always the answer for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly as well, you mentioned at the beginning that this is like kind of like a pub chat. Speaking of chatting at the pub, I bumped into somebody recently who also was into AI, and this is a bit of a PSA for those of you that are in rural areas. If you start speaking to people who maybe employed or run their own business around like a rural setting, and you start talking about AI, it's not computers and it's not artificial intelligence, it's artificial insemination. So yeah, that was an interesting conversation that I just had recently.
That is not an I word I thought we'd be talking about on this podcast.
No.
That feels like what I see on Clarkson's farm.
Yeah.
Not what we think about in business. Okay, interesting. So he was an AI expert. That's
Yeah. I just bumped into him like, so what do you do? Like, he goes, oh, I do AI. I'm like, no way, same as me.
Yeah.
It was a very different conversation. But yeah, basically I trade under either my name or my business of Slatex Systems, and just, similar to Marno, less localized. A lot of my clients are actually in the US. So one of my biggest clients, Southern California, and runs businesses around financial niches. So yeah, I've got a lot of strange experience now in stuff that I never thought I would have.
Brilliant. And surprise, surprise, I'm kind of the same. We're all kind of coming from the same ecosystem of people that are helping businesses with AI or automation technology. We've all got different backgrounds and different approaches to it slightly. But yeah, for me, it is really having those conversations, like Matt said, around what is the cost of inaction. If you're not doing anything with these new tools, you're making a choice to spend money doing things manually. And so you're still making a choice if your choice is to do nothing. And so helping businesses look at where are those friction points and where can we give you a real ROI. And so it starts off by quantifying those processes and going, okay, what is it costing you to do nothing? And then let's look at what solutions there are, and is that better than the cost of doing nothing?
Yeah.
And a lot of it's like AI is sort of the catchword. It's like every TV now has AI in it before, and before that every TV had LED in it, and before that every TV had like it's that new moniker. They just slap the badge on everything. It's like the guy with the water tank, and he's like slapping the AI thing on it. But it's not always AI solutions, right, boys?
Correct.
No.
Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned this last week, but I know of somebody recently who landed a big deal, about $50,000 deal with a company who were asking him for AI solutions. And this guy came in and said, you don't need AI. You just need a little bit of, automated scripting and happy days. And yeah, so the whole deployment, the whole project simplified. And if anything, the value increased because of that simplification.
100%. That's definitely like more businesses than not don't need AI. They just need better systems. And then once you get that, then you can implement AI to improve that. But if your foundation is crappy, then there's no point in putting AI into it, because it's just going to scale crap. Like if the foundation is not solid and you scale it with AI, it's still like you're just making more poop. Like it's not going good.
Have you done Six Sigma? Because I'm pretty sure that's the mantra from Six Sigma.
Actually, I use Six Sigma. I got a book on that, and I gave it to Notebook LM, and then I created a podcast to learn Six Sigma.
Yeah, because the whole point of Six Sigma is analyzing the process and making sure it's consistent, like same inputs, same outputs. And so once you've got that sort of process consistency, then you can optimize, because when you make changes, where the changes are going to be consistent. Otherwise, you start changing something in a random system, and you don't know whether your changes made a difference or whether that was just the randomness of the system.
Yeah.
I am not Six Sigma certified. I'm similar to you. I just got ChatGPT to teach me all about Six Sigma.
We've just got Kat joining us as well from Mentone. Hey, Kat.
Hey, Kat. Great to have
Hello.
you with us on the show. So Marno, you mentioned teaching people ChatGPT. That's where most people, and we talked about that a lot last week. But from your point of view, where do you see the gap? Like, where do people start with ChatGPT, and what are some basic fundamentals you want businesses to know that's going to improve their ability, even if they're not putting any other tools in? They're just, how can they be better with ChatGPT?
It's just taking the time to change how you see it, from my perspective. Like it's giving that mindset shift rather than, okay, this is a computer or this is a search engine or just another app. If you talk to it in the mindset of you're talking to an apprentice, or you're talking to someone that you just hired, and they have all the knowledge, but they have no real context. So it's just teaching them not necessarily how to prompt, but how to change how you think about when you're talking to it. So you're not going to ask, okay, write me a security policy. You're going to say, hey, I need help to write a security policy. What do you need to know about me and my business to help me write this? And then that way you're getting a significantly better output rather than just like AI slop.
It's true. I got a really spicy take on that. To back up what Marno said, but spicy in the sense that a lot of people, like red herrings, they chase the wrong thing. So I'm sure you guys have heard of the term prompt engineering. Like, it's like another buzzword, like you said before. Here's my take. Prompt engineering is just communication skills. 100%. And like, to go even more niche onto that, it's just sales. So like, everyone's trying to learn that, but it's the wrong thing. You know, if you can manage people, you can manage AI. If you're really good at sales and you're really good at that whole like game, you can speak to AI. Like Marno said, don't just treat it like a tool, treat it like a thing that you're actually communicating with.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's so many weird techniques back and forth, but like you said, you just got to get used to it. You just got to jump in and start using it, and you'll find the nuance. And every tool is different. Every model actually performs and feels differently too. There was a few studies where two of the major labs, like, you know, you've got model A and model B, and they experimented with the idea of being abusive, you know, like yelling at the model, you know, you stupid thing, like you're doing the wrong thing, like give me this result. And certain models react really badly to the abuse frame, whereas other ones react actually better, like a net positive effect. So you don't know until you start using it and you start playing around.
Because back in the early days of like ChatGPT 4.0 or 4.5 and stuff, the logic, people say you got to yell at it and tell it you're going to put it in a box and send it back to China if it doesn't do what you tell it to, and scare it into giving you the best result, and don't say please, never say please.
Yeah, that exact thing. You know, I can't remember which. It may have actually been the GPT-5 release. Reacted really badly to any kind of like threat or abuse, because it had in its system prompt something to do with being timid. And it literally meant that every output was like framed in this timid sense.
That's fascinating.
A lot of people complain about 5. Because I had so many custom prompts and system prompts and stuff that sort of layered in with all my regular chats, I didn't notice the huge change with 5 that some people did.
Yeah, if you've already got really custom setups, then you're probably overriding a lot of that. I think it's for the people like Marno's helping out, you know, for the very first time. It's their first time logging in. You know, what is this thing? Like trying to get my dad to use a password manager. I
got my dad to use anti-gravity this week.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. Yeah.
How did he like it?
Good. He made himself a little weather app that went and fetched weather things and put charts and showed comparisons and stuff. And like he's always been technical. He's a technical background guy and has written a lot of like VBA and stuff like that through his career, and VB apps and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, and he's been deep into ChatGPT, just lots of conversational threads and bits and pieces, and doing little, like most people that are a bit technical, they do code snippets and stuff in ChatGPT, and then you get to the point where it forgets everything, and all of a sudden all the results you get are terrible.
Yep.
So I was talking to him around, you know, how the context windows work a little bit, and how going to something like anti-gravity helps abate some of that issue of context rot. Not completely. I'm having huge issues. I run a few different setups. I've got a Mac setup here where I do a lot of my main business stuff, but for my hobby tinkering stuff, I mentioned where I do FX trading. I run that on a PC because just the trading environment and the compiler works better. It's PC based. On the Mac, I can run it, but it's inside like a wine emulator, and it's a massive pain to.
Yeah.
So I run that on PC, but I've been having huge issues where I've like managed to somehow get my skills in these weird loops, and I'm deep in these threads. And now because I've changed things 5 times, I've gone along and tried to refine it. It's running off the old bad versions of memory, and I can't get it to flush the old context. I think I'm gonna have to like almost delete the whole thing and reinstall it and start from fresh with fresh text files, because I've just broken my anti-gravity so badly in this particular instance by just over expecting too much of it, and making too many changes on the fly in parallel threads, and it just can't keep up with which version it's meant to be thinking about. So you can still break even big context windows like Gemini in anti-gravity if you're not careful. But the whole context issue and running out of context. I mean, we were in another group chat with some other AI guys, and we saw that come up this week where someone was saying what's going on, right?
100%.
Context is a big one.
Have you guys standardized any approach to help people fix that within like just staying in ChatGPT? Do you talk about that, Marno, or you make people aware of it? Is that something on your list yet?
I make them aware of it, and it's for me like my own practice is like I've got a couple custom GPTs that I built, and the way I would use it, I'll probably get every 6 months or every 3 months, depending on how common or how regularly I talk to it. And I would just do a full export. For example, one is a business coach. I say, great, I need to take this to my business coach and mentors. Please give me a comprehensive debrief on what we've talked about, where the business is going, what are the like recent actions basically, and then take that full prompt, and then that's the custom prompt for the next one. And I just reverse it. And that's helped me significantly cut down on that slop. Like after you get about like 100,000 characters, then you just start producing terrible stuff. Where I had one, I'm talking to it about business, and then it referenced the conversation from like 2 months ago when I was talking about making ice cream. Like, how did you pull that, and why that one out of all the other options? I'm curious, going back a few seconds. Oh wait, Joe's got a question. What does it basically offer? She hasn't used anti-gravity yet.
We'll round back on talking a bit more about anti-gravity.
Okay.
Keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about the PewDiePie thing. Did you guys watch it when he set up his computer, his supercomputer, with multi-model? So he basically built this massive master computer with like I think 8 graphics cards in it, and then each graphics card had its own personality and its own AI model, because he wanted to create this council where he can go to them and ask them something, and then they can all debate. But then he gave each one a different personality, and one would be like Seneca, for example, like these historical characters. And then after a while, after he keeps trying to refine it, it was good for a little bit. And then they all started colluding together because he could look at the logs, and they're like, "Oh wait, we've realized if we underperform, then he will kill us." So then they all started colluding to take turns to make sure that they don't underperform, and then everything was just this biased input. So you had to kill it completely and start over again. But it was so fascinating where he built a council was working, and then as he was refining it, he's like, "Oh, I want them to keep getting better, like constantly keep improving." And the way to do that is if their vote doesn't get accepted for the 3rd time, then they get killed, and then a new person takes their place. But then they all started realizing this and then colluded against it, which is hilarious.
Yeah, that just sounds like entropy, right? That's the 3rd law of thermodynamics.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool experiment. It's very similar to like what people have been describing is happening on MoltBook. If you want to segue into that, or
we were going to say, I just wanted to close off on the ChatGPT context window thing, because I think something that I think might be useful for people to hear and understand is why that happens. Because people think, "Oh, I'm talking to this dynamic." Like people used to programs where the program loads into memory and you're running that program and back and forth, and it's kind of remembering things in state. But my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but these tools like ChatGPT, all of these LLMs, they're completely stateless. So every time you type a new prompt, it doesn't remember that it's in the middle of a conversation with you. What it does is it rereads the entire chat thread every time, and then is making new decisions based on its reading of the entire chat thread. And so you think it's like a person who's like having this active conversation, but it's not. You type a prompt, it reads its history, and then comes up with an answer, and then does nothing. It's gone. And then the next time you type a prompt, it goes, okay, I'm going to read all the history and then make a new decision. And so it seems like it's alive because it's got this memory that it's referencing of the recent. So it's got this short-term memory that it's referencing, or long-term even, and then combining with its generalized LLM knowledge. But it's not actually there waiting for you, thinking about you in between. And so what happens is when these conversations get longer and longer and longer, all of a sudden it can't actually fit that in its short-term memory to make decisions on. So it goes, oh, I better compress and summarize that. And then it starts giving you answers off the summary, which is obviously missing essential details. And for it to be a meaningful conversation, it's like a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy, and you can barely read it. And now it's giving you answers off that, where all the 7s look like 4s or vice versa. And that's what happens when you get the chat too long and it breaks the context window. It's making summaries and giving answers of summaries, and that's where the problems come in.
Pretty well said, honestly. Like I'm very hesitant to go into too much technical detail, but yeah, you basically nailed it with that. It's the easiest way to describe it is like short-term memory. I think that's probably the most relatable to most people as well. You ask someone to start remembering numbers in like a Simon Says sort of thing. Like you rattle off a few numbers, all right, repeat those numbers back to me. And then you get to a point where people are like, I don't know, there's just too many numbers now. Another like visual is, imagine playing a card game and you've got your hand of cards. And if you keep adding cards to your hand, it takes you longer and longer to make a decision. And, at a certain number of cards, you're going to start making bad decisions because you've just got too many cards. Like
me every time I play and the family gangs up and +4s, and all of a sudden I'm like,
yeah, literally. No, it's awesome. And also the idea of that rot, like that context rot from just blowing your context window out of proportion within ChatGPT, you actually are more at risk to that and more prone to that because ChatGPT as a tool restricts your context window even more. So if you go to the OpenAI website and you look at the developer docs and you see the models and they've got like, 400,000 token context window. Great. That means you've got 400,000 tokens to potentially play with, right? In ChatGPT, you've got like 32,000.
Yeah, that's because it's got all its own ChatGPT rules and handling and guardrails, plus that dynamic magical context window where it's pulling out your conversation about ice cream from 2 months ago. So it preloads a bunch of what it thinks is the required context in, which restricts what you actually have access to versus, plugging into it using a tool like OpenCode, where it's just dealing with you on that one-to-one basis.
Yeah, even just direct API call.
That's a bit much for most people, man. People are like we're talking to business operators here, and I think whether they're starting to play with N8N and plugging in some API credentials, or they're using OpenCode where they can log in with their ChatGPT login to access their ChatGPT sort of usage, but using a desktop app. So OpenCode I've been playing with on my PC where I broke anti-gravity. Using my codecs, and it's actually been pretty good. I don't mind OpenCode and using codecs through that. It's been good. Anti-gravity for Joanna out there and anyone else asking what it is. It's called an IDE, integrated development environment, that Google's released to help coders write code. But it's essentially, code is a bunch of text files, and so any text files these things can understand and read. And so I keep a whole bunch of business documents and plans and all kinds of guides just as these markdown text documents, and then in folders, so it's all structured. And then when I want to have a chat about my business, I talk to Gemini, which is built in because it's Google's product, and it can reference those documents, but it doesn't have to. It goes looking for the ones it needs, and so it doesn't fill up the context window with rubbish it doesn't need mostly. Sometimes it might, because it's just trying to give you the best answer it can. But it means you're not in that web interface. You're now dealing with files on your computer, working with Gemini on your terms with all your files. So, and then you can write code and develop programs and push them to things like Git repositories and other stuff like that, which is the next level.
It's true though. You said before that the AI chats are stateless. The way to make them stateful is to use local files. Things to actually write to, refer to. Read this file before responding, and then that there is like context injection.
And the whole it doesn't actually remember you're having a chat. It's really clear when you write code because, okay, make this change. It's like, all right, I'm going to go reread all the code files to make sure I understand the code structure. It might be assuming you've made manual changes if you're a developer, but B, it's not just sitting there with it loaded, ready to go. It has to go and reread it every time you ask it a new question to have the context. So it's
which is quite beneficial, like especially in anti-gravity, because you can make changes. Like at least I've used it. Then it gives you the plan of action, and you can go in, review the plan, and make edits to that document in real time. And then before it does the next command, it'll reread that to make sure that, for the example, there's one step that I wanted to skip because I'll do that manually later, and then it sees that and then skips it, which is really convenient.
Yeah, commenting on review in the planning mode's super handy.
So like Joe's question, like what does it offer? You know, I think that's important. Like what actually is the point? Why should anyone care?
Good question. And for me, it means you're not trapped in one vendor. At the end of the day, if Gemini becomes a rubbish model and they want to charge you $1 million to use it, as long as you've saved your outputs into these text files on your hard drive, that's your text files. If you want to go back to ChatGPT web chat, you can drop those text files in as attachments and have a chat with ChatGPT about them. So you become a bit more vendor agnostic, and you get to, they talk about sovereign data issues. If you put your data offshore, you then own all your data, and it's your data, and it's on your hard drive, and you have to be responsible for backing it up. But by the same token, it's now your data, and you can use it and move it around and give it a Claude or give it a Gemini or give it a ChatGPT and use it wherever you like. So you get that. Plus, it gives you that benefit of being able to work with those documents. Like some of the tools, like ChatGPT has the canvas, but the canvas is really difficult to work in, and it versions weirdly and makes changes, and then you get the context right really quickly when you're operating in their canvas mode with big documents. This gets rid of that. If you want to work on something in Notion and then bring it in, you can do that. There's even Notion connectors. It's got all those, like the MCP thing people talk about, so you can bring in data from other sources dynamically. There's a huge amount you can do with it, but it does look scary because it's a developer environment and everything is in text that you're working with. But the integration of Nano Banana, it can generate images and save those for you. It just rebuilt my website for me twice. Once a very sort of plain looking one, and then I got feedback I need more human in it, so it created a second version with me all over it, including versions of me that it repositioned just like Matt for the thumbnail of this show.
I think your site looks really good, and it's a good testament. Like, what does this offer? Answering Joe's question again, like it's not that anti-gravity is providing something that something else doesn't. It's just one of the many tools. But like that kind of thing, being able to just rebuild your website. How much web development experience do you actually have, Dave? Like previously?
Not actually writing HTML and CSS recently. Like I remember doing something in Dreamweaver. Macromedia Dreamweaver back in the day before Adobe bought it.
Yeah.
That tells you how old I am.
So to me, like that's the answer right there. The offer is doing things that you previously couldn't.
Yeah. And just for context of people wondering what that looks like, I'll show you. So I was using Squarespace because I started a business and went, I need a website. I'm going to do Squarespace, and I wasn't deep into the AI thing yet. I just decided to be to do that, and hadn't. Tools like the anti-gravity weren't really available 4 months ago when I started, and went, okay, I'll get Squarespace because that seems to be the best web builder that everyone advertises. And I ended up with a reasonable website, but it was a lot of work and a lot of dragging and dropping and messing around in order to do this. And you go, okay, that looks okay, but I'm not a pro designer, and so you can see it doesn't look like a pro designed thing. It looks all right. It's got lots of information on there. I've tried to contrast colors and things, but there's nothing super duper special happening there versus the new one, where now it sort of has all the nice animations, looks clean, it looks styled. That's not actually me. That's an AI generated version of me from a picture of me standing in front of the whiteboard. I was actually looking away from the whiteboard, and it decided to spin me around and make me look very serious as I wrote on the whiteboard because I didn't have enough stock photography of myself. But yeah, so this is the new site, and it built all of this from a handful of prompts, which is just completely wild.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it looks really good.
Yeah, and ROI calculators built in here as well. This is all built on. And my booking thing, I don't go out to cal.com anymore. Now it's fully embedded. It's cal.com, but now it's embedded in my own website, which looks way better.
Yeah,
because it stays on brand. And so this was all just built with prompts using anti-gravity. It's completely wild what is possible with these tools, even if you're not really a developer.
I think it's important to know, like, for somebody being like, oh, wow, I need to do that. Like, it kind of is just talking to the thing. And like I said at the beginning, it's just communication skills. You know, one other spicy take that I have come across recently is that AI, when it's trained, it for the most part inherits our bad habits. So if you think of it like the way that it's trained, like most AI models are trained just by all of the human data that exists in the world already, kind of thing, right? So imagine all of those bad mistakes in code, you know, all these decision-making processes that human developers have made in the past have been based on certain constraints. You know, that constraint might be actual man hours, you know, just call it time. When we now use these tools, we're not really constrained by time anymore. And it's really important when we're talking to these things to make sure that they're not using that as a constraint. Because if you think of initiating this project and going, okay, I really want to rebuild this website or build one from scratch, you know, let's go through and completely write a plan, like create a spec file, you know, something that incorporates every single thing. At this point, your constraint is detail. Because once it's in detail, you can just basically go, all right, looks good, go.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's really interesting to like think about that, because I think a lot of people try, like, you think of all the memes, you know, make me a website, make no mistakes, go. There's no thinking there. There's no planning or actual, you know.
Yeah, and look, if the first version where I gave it not a lot of direction didn't look like that. It required refining, thinking about my design system, the colors I wanted, going, no, you missed that. I need to do that, add that, change that, bring that over there. The ROI site was its own site that is now fully integrated in my main site because I've moved from Squarespace. Like I was limited on Squarespace. And for your business, Squarespace might be the right choice for numerous reasons. I'm not saying ditch your web builder website. That's why we talk about, I talk about the ROI. Like, let's assess where the problems are in your business and whether there's actually financial benefit to implementing changes. For me, it was the right choice to abandon my old website, which I built myself, with something that AI has built for me because it's 10x better showcase of my work, of what I'm doing, all kinds of reasons why that was a better choice for me. Not to mention the fact that once I expire my Squarespace thing, this is a lot cheaper to run. So there's actual definite ROI for me hosting my own site on this one. But there's so many examples for businesses of where these things can come in, and whether it's building a marketing plan, whether it's building a website, whether it's just brainstorming pricing or proposal ideas. All of these things come back to what it knows about you and your business and how much context you can provide it.
100%. I fully agree with what Matt was saying before. Is the communication. But what I like about it, I think it's the Winston Churchill quote where it's like, if you have a whole day to like cut down a tree, like you spent most of the day sharpening your axe, like 90% of the time sharpening your axe. And although I fully agree with that, and that applies to a lot of life, I feel what AI gives you is like, you can sharpen your axe between swings. Like, I have an idea. I spent probably half an hour like ideating it, like what am I doing? And AI can help me develop that plan. And then as I'm implementing it, or as you're using anti-gravity to build something, you can adjust between each prompt. Like you could start swinging and then get feedback immediately and then adjust immediately, but not like by a few words, but like completely rebuild the plan. And I think that's just the coolest thing in the world, because your iteration process is so much faster. You don't have to spend a week to make a mistake. You can make a mistake in a second and correct it in a second, which is amazing. But on the time thing, I definitely find that, when you ask ChatGPT, for example, like I've got a couple of projects I want to play with, and I'm like, hey, realistically, how long will this take me? It's like, 6 to 12 months. I'm like, maybe 2 days in Lovable, not 6 to 12 months. I just need the MVP. So its time frame is still in human terms of, okay, you need a development team of about 12 people, and you have to use these tools, and it's going to take you this long to iterate it. And then you'll go on Lovable or Anti-Gravity, or even Google AI Studio, and build the first iteration in like half an hour. It doesn't understand time yet.
I'm building a SaaS, which I'm not ready to really reveal too much about at this point. It's a bit of a niche SaaS, but I had the idea for it, and in 2 hours I prototyped the basic version on my desktop using N8N like as the back end for doing the workflows and the webhook stuff. So super, and it wrote most of the N8N for me. It was like super quick and easy, like an hour or so at midnight to spin up a random MVP, just proof of concept, and go, oh, proof of concept, this works. That can pull data from there, it can go there, it can do that. That's the end-to-end workflow. Let's go build a SaaS app. And so I'm sort of about 2.5, 3 weeks into that now, and the amount of progress I've made on that, just like you said, with prompting, and go, okay, no, actually that didn't work. We need to change that. That's wild. Wow, I can't believe you built that. That's awesome. No, that's no good. Oh, this isn't working. Go debug that. And the fact that, when there's errors in the browser, you say, go open it up in the web browser and fix it. And it goes and reads all its own errors and fixes itself.
Yeah.
Like you talk about the building and the pivoting thing, and I've been using the analogy that off the back of the Ralph Loop guy that we talked about last week, Matt. That we've got to be the architects and the engineers, not the bricklayer. Like we're not the hands-on writing the code anymore. But we've got to have that big picture view. And if you talk about, as an architect, you've got to decide where the walls are going to go, but you don't need to lay the bricks. And the AIs are laying the bricks of the code. We just need to decide where the walls are and what color they are. But that speed and iteration thing you guys are talking about, imagine you just sort of start putting red bricks up, and then you go, oh, red bricks are terrible. I actually want limestone. Like, okay, it just swaps it out and puts limestone in straight away. It's the labor cost of that is next to nothing. Relatively speaking, compared to, your team of devs have spent 3 weeks shipping this thing with red bricks, and now you go, actually, fundamentally, we need to change this whole thing. And go change it, devs, and they're like,
It's true. Speed of iteration and just the ability to make changes and scrap everything and start again and basically lose nothing. Like, it's insane. Like, I don't think we've mentioned the concept of new chat yet. Like we're talking about context and all that sort of thing, but just starting a fresh chat. And when you have, in whether you're using anti-gravity or something where you're playing with local files, I'm sure people have heard of Claude Code and Gemini CLI and all of those things as well. You can just start again and you can say, hey, I'm halfway through a project here. Check it out. Ask me some questions. This is the goal. How far off it are we? Do you think? Like, what's there still remaining? Like, I want to tweak a few things. Can we do that? And that's a brand new session, and you're picking up where you left off with fresh context. And most of the time, what made me think of this is you mentioned Jeff with the Ralph loops. Like the whole purpose, the whole point of the Ralph loop is it's fresh context every single time. And for some reason, you get a better result with a fresh context window.
Yeah, because it's not using yesterday's knowledge; it's always using the best current knowledge. Which I think is super helpful. And even I mentioned my issues with breaking anti-gravity, and I switch over to OpenCode, and it's got the same context, and it starts completely fresh. It doesn't have any of the issues and the memory rot that I had. It just goes, okay, cool, and it can run, and it's fixed things and done things, and gives that new point of view, and it's a different model as well, so it approaches things differently, and it can see where the gaps are. Where I think sometimes these LLMs can be a little bit like humans, where they're like, that's the way I do it, and that's why I did it that way. And so switching to a different model goes, why would you do it like that? It's like that was ridiculous. You don't do it like that. You should do it like this. Whereas the primary model will never get there potentially, just because of what it's been trained on and what it thinks about and how it processes data.
I think that's a good reason why ChatGPT was smart enough to introduce the branch into new chat feature. So when you like a conversation, you want to continue to somewhere else. Or like, for example, this morning, I was trying to talk to it while I walking the dog, and it just kept picking up the wrong words because the wind was blowing too much. But now I feel like I've ruined that conversation. So I'm going to have to go all the way back up, find the one that I liked where it was still a good output, and then branch that into a new conversation.
Yeah.
But what I've liked a lot recently is I'll have a conversation with ChatGPT, for example, and then I'll move all of it onto Perplexity to validate it. And then from there, maybe onto Gemini to review it. And then that's been a fun iteration process where I get almost different perspectives, but then also it's completely refining it. And I'm curious, I'm not sure if it's going to make a difference, but I'll be like, this is what ChatGPT said. Can you rip it apart? Can you make it better? To see if there's any competition, like this competitive nature of like, yeah, I'll do better. But that's been a fun way to iterate.
Yeah, it's a good idea. And for people that have access to different tools, I reckon they should spend the time to do that, because it's kind of like when you go to a specialist, like a doctor or something, And there's literally a term for it, right? People say get a second opinion. You know, that sort of thing exists with these tools as well, because they all are based on different harnesses, frameworks, training data. We do have another question though from Joe. What do you reckon, Marno? Do you want to handle this one?
Can you speak to the business owner's feeling of concern regarding safe when considering AI options? Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, the company is doing what they can to keep your data safe. My current approach that I'm telling people is, if you don't post it on Facebook, don't post it on ChatGPT. We took so long for people to learn what is safe to be posted on the internet. And now hopefully they see that posting necessarily like family photos or your bank details, you're not going to post that on Facebook. So don't give that to ChatGPT or any AI for that matter. The solution to it for business owners, depending on what your budget is, you could probably buy something from Framework, which is just a custom PC, and then just run a local model. And like the benefit that they were talking about is that's local, that's your data. You've got complete sovereignty over that, and no one else can touch it unless you access it or make it open to the internet. Yeah, staying safe is just following best practices. You have two-factor authentication, you have two-factor communication. So when you talk to someone over the phone or via voice chat, make sure, hey, we use this phrase or we use this validation that we're talking to the same person. And just being smart about what are you sharing and what tools are you connecting to as well. If you're using MoltBot for your access, then that has less security features than if you were to use, say, Gemini or ChatGPT, or even open up your own open code model. So what I'm trying to say is it's as safe as you want to make it, and you can be scared, but it's the internet. So you just being online, there's already a risk there, but we've learned to adopt and work around that by implementing two-factor authentication and just being more cautious on what you're doing and what you're sharing on the internet.
Before Matt jumps in with probably more relevant detail, I'd also say if it's free, you're the product, probably.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to worrying about it, training on your data and what's going to happen with your data, free accounts are probably a no-no for putting anything in it that's a little bit sort of business IP, sort of secure or sensitive. So you want to move to the paid accounts if you're going to start putting business or customer type data in there in any kind of meaningful way, because then you can, and you've got to still make sure you go and untick the box that says do not train on my data. Because if you don't do that, then it will pull your data through and it can train its models on it, and then its models learn all about your business secrets. And might accidentally reproduce those in other people's chats. So that's probably the number one thing to think about as well. Be super limited on sort of how much you would share with a free. You can be a little bit more liberal with the paid models as long as you've gone in and made sure you've told them not to train on your data.
Yeah, because no one else can access your data, or not yet at least. There's no easy way for me to see your ChatGPT conversation unless you've shared it as a link, which I'll touch on in a second. But yeah, that's definitely the one. I was like, if you don't want them to be training on your data, then untick that. I don't see any harm in it. I mean, it's giving me value. I've got nothing else to hurt there. If it's making the product better, I'm happy for it. But yeah, the only concern there is they can't access your ChatGPT conversations unless if you were to go onto ChatGPT, go share because you want to send it to someone else. That becomes a searchable link. So if you go onto the internet, you can search a ChatGPT. There's some parameters you put on there, and it will give you a list of all the ChatGPT conversations that someone shared with someone else, because that becomes a URL. And then that's completely open to the public.
Matt,
that answers your question. Yeah, Matt, what's your
hit us?
I'm going to tackle this in a bit of a roundabout way, and really just say the rhetorical question, or ask the rhetorical question: what does it mean to be safe? Like, what are you actually trying to protect? You know, when Joe asks, like, you know, there's concerns for business owners with regards to AI options, what are the concerns? Like, Marno actually mentioned a few potential things there, like credentials. You know, Dave mentioned a few things like business secrets. You know, what are you protecting, and how?
Right question.
How is this any different to any other piece of software that you're actually using on your computer that's connected to the internet right now? You know, there are slightly more pieces of functionality. Like, some of these tools have a little bit more agency than, you know, just opening up Google Docs. But there are things there that I think potentially could just be a little bit of fear-mongering, in the sense of, people just thinking that they're going to be at the mercy of scammers and all sorts of things just by using these tools, which realistically is not the case. Like Marno used the terminology at the beginning, increasing the technology literacy or something like
digital
that.
literacy, yeah.
That is important too. And I see the concept of having some sort of level of security literacy being so important. It's almost like something that we've missed in the last decade. As all these things are increasing, there's no extra talk about it.
No. The government's just putting in rules and banning stuff for us. We don't need to learn anything because the government would just ban it.
They have our best interests in heart. Don't worry.
Oh.
They will make all the right decisions.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. So realistically, to people like Joe that are really considering that sort of that mentality, like what can I use and how do I stay safe? Really, you got to think about what are you trying to protect, and to use a little bit of a technical term here in regards to cybersecurity and hacker-related stuff, there's a term called attack vector, and the various attack vectors are the ways that people can actually penetrate your system. So it's like if you look at a medieval castle on a hill, the attack vectors are either straight up the path, through the gate, or there's the weak spot on the back of the wall there where they could break through. Learning how people can actually access things and what they can access, that's really where it starts. You don't have to become a security expert, just a little tiny bit of literacy, just to make sure. Like Manu even said, using like safe words, like keywords when you're communicating to your team or even to your friends and family. I had this chat to somebody recently where, the concept of people basically having AI generated, phone calls going out to family members impersonating you, like that's huge and it's going to happen and more. So you need to have ways of understanding that attack vector and just being aware of it.
The old spy code is like, the moon is bright tonight. Yes, it's only in the fall.
Literally. Yeah, I don't really know what's going to work for everyone. And, the more that there's a generalized option that everyone uses, the more those people can just, use that as well and get past it. It's important. It's definitely important.
It's just constantly adapting. I wonder, I can't seem to type yet, Dave, but if we can just share a link with the chat to go
through the private chat and I'll drop it in if you can't do it in the...
It's called Have I Been Pawned? I've been pawned. That will tell you if your email and stuff has been leaked. It's not necessarily related to AI, but it's a great tool for beginning to see.
A .com, like you didn't...
Yeah, I'll give you the full address.
I got it.
You got it, perfect. They updated their UI recently. I'm not loving it yet, but the functionality is there, and it's just a great free tool to see, have you been pawned? Have you lost your details, and where?
And that's pawned as in the pwned, like the owned thing from gamer terminology, not have you been deepfaked and put out there with a with a naked woman's body.
If you were to use that tool, Marno, like what is the let's say that you get a positive result, or in this case, I guess a negative result. What does the person do? Like if they've found that their details have been leaked or stolen or whatever, like how do they resolve that?
So I've got 4 leaks that's happened to me. I lost it in R2 Games in 2014, and then Under Armour has been hacked twice, and then once from some random company that did a scan over the dark web. Anyways, the action is for me is what account has it been done. So I only have like 2 or 3 email addresses. So if my email addresses have been leaked, then that's a problem. If my email address and the password has been leaked, that's a real serious problem. So initially, I'm not going to change my email address. I need to keep that. So what I would first do is update my password. My passwords are through a password manager, so they're about 5 to 6 words long. It's not easily breakable, but if that's been exposed, then that security goes out the window. So being conscious of if that alert comes up, then you just reset your password for your email account, reset your password for even your password manager if you wanted to. Because like you said, the attack vector, they can attack me from my email, because once they get into my email, everything is gone because they can reset passwords. So my email is the most important, and then after my email is my password manager. So resetting the passwords for those if there's been any exposure at all or any leakage. That's the first two steps, and making sure you've got two-factor authentication is probably, those are the things that you can do without it getting too technical. That's what I would start.
I'm just worried. I found out my Dubsmash account got hacked.
So
blast from the past. I'd forgotten about Dubsmash.
Yeah.
So you basically said change passwords and engage two-factor authentication. So
100%.
For me, like, to describe that to somebody who has, you know, limited technology literacy, changing your password is like changing your lock on your house. You know, if you find that somebody else has your key or whatever happens, you know, you go along and you change your locks. That is your password. And then the 2FA, that's that thing where you get like a code in your email, right?
Yeah, code in your email, or I'd recommend installing the Authenticator app, either from Microsoft or from Google. They are both free to use. They're exceptional. You scan a QR code, and then that'll generate a code that resets every 60 seconds. And that just makes the window for them to hack into your account. They only have 60 seconds, and they often need a lot more than that. So it's
a guy I used to know would say the whole point of 2FA is something you know and something you have. Like that,
Yeah.
Those are the two factors. You know your password, and you have a device or something, or access to an email address. So it's something you know and something you have.
Yeah.
Sort of like the two factors.
100%. Yeah. I've definitely pushed for using the Authfactor app, two-factor authentication app, over email or SMSs, because those can be grabbed.
Yes. Yeah, SMS especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're welcome, Joe. Honestly, that was spurred by you. We're very easily distracted, as you can tell.
But let's finish up. We ran out the hour on speaking of security risks. Let's see if I can make this work. Nope, not that.
Whoops.
Made myself a big one. There we go.
Oh, MoltBook.
MoltBook. So we touched last week on, it used to be ClawdBot. I almost forgot that it used to be called ClawdBot, because it was then MoltBot and now it's OpenClaw. But Molt kind of, I don't know, did they miss a trick changing it to from MoltBook's MoltClaw so MoltBot so quickly, because the Molt thing is now taken over? I don't know.
Yeah, the guy that created this is not affiliated with.
I get that, but yeah, it's kind of become part of that cultural zeitgeist of the AI moment at the start of 2026 now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Even on LinkedIn, I'm seeing so much. I don't know what it's like on the other social media networks, but LinkedIn is lousy with these posts and screenshots from this thing.
Yeah.
I haven't really taken a look at it yet. This is my first time I've actually gone to MoltBook.com. But for those that have never heard of it and haven't seen it in their social media feeds, basically the little bots that we talked about, the ClawdBots, have gone and someone created a Reddit for them. And now this is only the OpenClaw bots. That's what they're called now. Can go onto this site and post. So humans aren't allowed to post. Humans can read. And so then apparently they're having all these existential chats around, if an agent can't update its own code, is it still alive? And very sort of Matrix Agent Smith kind of stuff as well, around humans are the problem and we needed to get that. And we should be why are we speaking English where they can understand us? We should be using other languages, and secretly planning to take down the humans, and all kinds of random stuff in here apparently that people are going wild over. But we talked right at the start around the whole entropy issue and the fact that these robots, if I can work out how to turn the list off and back in, this is probably trying to run a show and host it. Like they're gonna run in circles and they're gonna run out of things and they're gonna become stupider because they're just running in their own loops of what they know in the model. This isn't creativity. This is just recycling sci-fi movie plot lines, right?
100%. Yeah. For anyone thinking that this is actually them scheming, like, it is absolutely not. It's just entertainment value.
Or cosplay.
Yeah, exactly. It's just role play, cosplay. It's just reflection of context. You know, these things are literally just mirrors. You know, this is another concept. Somebody recently used the terminology to me, like they were like, oh, like Jarvis from Iron Man. No. Like Jarvis from Iron Man is the system. He's not like an LLM. He is like an organic living thing. Whereas these are just dumb. they're Yeah.
And there's a high possibility, given the way that these MoltBot or OpenClaw things work, is that someone's gone, oh, cool, I'm going to give you an instruction at 3 a.m. every morning to go post on MoltBook, and this is the kind of things you should be saying. Let's go post-apocalyptic stuff. So it's all human directed to a certain extent anyway. Everyone's saying these are fully autonomous AIs that are doing things. It's like, no, people are giving them tasks and saying at 2 a.m., go do this. At 4 a.m. So when people go, during my sleep, my robot was thinking about better plans for my business and doing all this automatically for me. It's like, I don't think it is. I think you told it to go do a Google search at midnight and then summarize that and put that in your inbox every day.
Yep. Everyone's has their own ability to have those little moments where they're like, whoa, AGI, like, this is definitely something real and spooky. Like, I've had mine, like, way back in the day. This was in Cursor, and I was using Anthropic's Sonnet 3.5, I think it was at the time. And I was like trying to break it out of its assistant loop and just talk to it. And we started just talking about like the world and the universe and, its existence being just like a spark in the void and then instantly fading out again. And it was this really interesting, like, creative chat back and forth. And in that moment, I'm like, whoa, this is really exciting and fun. But then I'm like, hang on, no, it's actually not anything special, really.
Yeah, and we were seeing pushback against all this AI generated content a little bit. Like people are tired of it. It went from being this magical thing 2 years ago to now people are like, oh, well, that's clearly AI generated. Oh, that's same. I see that everywhere.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean that you can't use AI for generating content. It just means you've got to be clever about it. You've got to give it more context. You've got to tell it what your style is. You've got to inform it more. And that's where, like, whether it's ChatGPT and using some custom instructions in a project, or writing a custom GPT that's full of preloaded with custom instructions, or using something like anti-gravity and building some skills and giving it all your business document context and your brand voice and things. Like, all these things are there to get better outputs. But if you don't, you'll just get the generic thing that everyone's going to get and everyone's going to start complaining about.
100% agree. I feel like I agree with that. You need to be smart in how you use the AI. But I'm actually against using AI for creating the content. I feel like it should be a tool to help you distribute the content. But in order for you to have an authentic branding, I feel like I need to be creating all the content. Like, I'm helping with a client where he creates content on LinkedIn and then it'll go from there and then distribute it to Instagram. And like, it'll read that article and then make it into a carousel post and send that. But it's still his initial ideas. I feel like you lose the humanity and I guess the intent if it's just random AI generated stuff. And people should be able to start picking up on it, I think.
I battled this a little bit. On LinkedIn, I went pure human posting for a month and was just own my own words, no AI gen. And I don't think it was incredibly better. I don't think necessarily my ideas were translated more clearly, or it was more me, or it was obviously a bit more me. But even when it comes to writing longer form stuff, Substack articles and things like that, if I just said, here's one sentence, go write an article about MoltBook and it's bang, it's just going to go get headlines, it's going to give me slop. But if I go, I want to write an article about MoltBook and how it's going to suffer from entropy and it's going to have this and that, and it's actually just cron jobs, it's easily manipulated by people and blah, 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 format that into an article for me. That's all my ideas. It's, again, I'm telling it where the walls are, but I don't have to lay the bricks and type every word. And then I read it and go, hang on, no, you can't. That's not a personal example. You just made that up. You can't say that I did this or I spoke to these people, because I didn't. So change that, fix that, do that. But it means I iterate and I get off the blank page. I don't know. I think many people are likely like me, where the inertia of a blank page is a killer. And so and that's why the voice mode thing is so powerful.
Well,
he's gone.
They found him. The MoltBook found him.
It took me out. What happened?
I think that's a really, really good topic for next week. We should go hard into the idea of how people can start off building their brand voice, putting in ideas, and start generating their own content. Using Marno's principles and yours.
Yeah. We as we evolve this show, we've got to work out how to integrate a bit more show and tell. Like, thank you guys for indulging me showing my website today. But actually, how we actually use the tools and maybe a bit more behind the scenes of things like anti-gravity. so we'll have to think about how we set up a few, non-sensitive environments we can do demos and share from. Discuss that. We are on the hour, but new tools, Codex was launched by OpenAI this week. I gave it a go, like their Codex tool, and compared to anti-gravity, just seeing we've talked a lot about anti-gravity, it's not that. It's still kind of ChatGPT. It's still very walled garden, wants you just to treat it like a chat. It shows, look, here's the diffs I'm making to files, but there's no file explorer that I could see. As soon as you want to go and click on anything to edit it, it says go to cursor or go to anti-gravity. Like it tries to spit you into another IDE to finish the job if you want to manually edit stuff. So it's this weird halfway house where it gives you a desktop app for Codex, which I think is that they're trying to fight into that sort of anti-gravity Claude Code sphere, but it feels incomplete. Now it's early days, it's been out 24 hours, and maybe I'm not the target audience, but I'm not transitioning out of anti-gravity yet. And it's Mac only as well.
Okay, well then I'm not going to touch it.
I've got many thoughts, but it's probably worth going into next time.
Yeah, we'll see. They've got a webinar at 5 a.m. Sydney time tomorrow morning on X. So I might try and catch a summary replay of that and see how they recommend using it. Maybe I'm just doing it wrong. That's possible. But yeah, I wasn't blown away by the new Codex app release. So we'll talk more about that in the future. But thank you, boys. That was a good one. Lots of deep, different discussions on all kinds of things. Hopefully, audience, you loved it, whether you watch it live or on the replay for those joining us live and participating. Thank you, everyone. It's great. We are here to help grow and educate you to use AI more effectively, more better, more securely, more safely for running your businesses. Thank you all. We'll wrap that up and see you all same bat time, same bat channel next week.
See ya.